and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. It is a nice, humid, warm, mostly cloudy day here in Central Texas, and Nutmeg and I have been busy at work for the past month in the garden. There's still a lot more to be done. I still have to get some more plants. I still have seedlings that I need to grow a little faster so I can get them in the ground, but we figured that this would be a great time to do another garden tour. So this will be for the month of April. I feel like there's been enough change in the garden recently, and there's just a lot of things happening that I really want to show off. And one of those is the beautiful sage blooms behind me, but we'll get to that shortly. First, we'll go ahead and get started in the orchard. So let's go over there and get to it. Over here in the orchard, the peaches are doing okay. I have lost a few. I'm not sure whether or not it is due to winds or the birds just being rude, because we have a lot of grackles here and they're very rude birds in general. So I have covered them all with these little organza bags. I have a couple different colors, but the peaches are sizing up pretty considerably. So yeah, they're doing pretty well here. Pretty happy with their progress. I'm just hoping that enough of them survive so that I can actually eat a peach this year. There's not really much else to report with the plum tree that did nothing this year. And the bay leaf, I mean, it's growing. It's got lots of beautiful new growth, but this is not a fruiting tree, so it's not like I really have much to report about it anyway. Moving on to the raised beds, I have cleared out almost all of the cover crops. I do have my volunteer cilantro, which is blooming in full force right now. I'm leaving it because I want more coriander seeds, one of the easiest herbs to, or I guess spices really, to grow. I also have a thyme plant in here. I did start planting some peppers in this one. So these are shishitos. I'm actually thinking about making this entire bed shishito plants because my husband and I really love shishitos. And I found in the past that just having one or two plants really isn't enough. So I started with those 3. I have a few more that I grew from seed. They're just really small right now. And then of course I have the onions, which are sizing up really nicely, but they are doing better in the pepper bed here. So I do have peppers that I'm starting in here. I have my chives, my blue salvia, which is looking just gorgeous right now. I mean, that is beautiful. I know that this is taking up valuable space in this bed, but how can you not just love the flowers on this plant? So that tangent aside, I have a cubanella here. Onions are doing great. I have this overwintered aji rico pepper. This was grown from seeds from my mom, and there is a big pepper on here. Here it is. So this is just so much farther ahead from this nursery bought one. And like I said, the seeds that I have started are not ready yet. So it just goes to show how overwintering peppers can be really beneficial. I also have this jalapeno that I overwintered that has flowers. I think there's a small jalapeno there. And then this one is left over from last year and it's kind of squishy. So I think I'm just gonna get rid of that. I also have this overwintered jalapeno. It is a little bit smaller, but it is starting to get some buds on it. So hopefully we'll get some produce from it soon. And then I have my 2 candy cane bells. I do have more I started from seed because this is one of my favorite peppers. But if I can show it here, I have quite a few peppers on the plant already. Different levels of variegation. Obviously I have some really high variegation down here, medium, low, whole spectrum on this plant. And then next to it, this one is catching up. There are some, if I can move the onion branches out of the way, there are some buds starting to form. So it is catching up a little bit. Those are all the peppers I have in the ground in these beds so far. And then of course my cayenne bed. These seedlings did grow up enough that I was able to remove the protective coverings around them. And then I have an overwintered cayenne, as well as some volunteers. So I have marigold here, as well as over there. And then this is a tomato and some peppers. I need to separate them out because I am gonna keep some, I am gonna give some away. So I just need to get them out of here soon. But the peppers, they were just really small for the longest time, but I think now that's big enough and I should be able to separate them still, like it's not too big. So I'm gonna have that as one of my projects when it cools down later today. But I also have next to the pepper beds my beautiful blackberries, if this will focus. These are doing so well this year, and my husband built this custom trellis just to keep them more contained because they have a tendency to just spill out. So we are training them up the trellis a bit, but they are just going crazy. I mean, this was 3 little plants just a year ago, and now just every single corner of it is loaded with blackberries. I am very excited about the harvest this year. I think we got about 50 berries last year. There's a little bee pollinating away. Thank you, little bee. Oh, that is so cute. I love to see it. I honestly think hundreds of blackberries this year just because there's so many. Every single corner of this little 4x4 bed is filled with them. I also got to experience rue blooms for the first time, and it looks like I am gonna have some seed pods there as well, so that's really fun. This will attract swallowtail caterpillars throughout the season, and then I have some more herbs and flowers throughout this bed. Next to it here, I did mention earlier my sage blooms. I have never seen sage, like the typical garden sage, bloom for me before. These have been gorgeous. I think they're toward the end of their blooming cycle right now, but just the nice pop of purple color. Purple's my favorite, so it was just really nice to see in the garden. I love how everything in this bed is just growing into each other. I love that look, and there's lots of different heights and textures of all the plants, so that's been really fun to see. My blue borage, I think, is just about done blooming, which is kind of crazy. It was blooming for quite a while. I think I showed it off in the last garden tour. The oregano is just about to start, so this is going to be really annoying for the next few months, but it's okay. It does come back. It's just, it gets really tall and spiky, and it's very hard to actually harvest oregano from it when it's at this stage over the summer because the leaves are a lot smaller and there's just a lot more of these buds, but it can be done. Moving on, I have my artichokes. They just look like a hot mess. I don't know if I'm ever going to get an actual artichoke from these plants. It's been very frustrating, but there's been some strange caterpillar just decimating them, eating them alive. Also destroyed my tarragon there, but my other herbs are doing really well. The lemongrass is growing, my rue's doing well, oregano is gonna bloom there, and then this parsley keeps trying to bloom, but I keep trying to harvest it before it does. And then my asparagus still going crazy. We did eat one last night. We ate an asparagus stalk. It was great. I bought some other asparagus, but I threw it in there. And then I have my Swiss chard, which will just let go until the fall. Put in some new basil starts, and then my dill that I started from seed is doing so well. I started it in the fall and just kind of kept it alive until after the last frost date, and then put it out here. It just looks so good right now. This is the best dill I've ever grown, so maybe I should grow it from seed more often. It's just so pretty, so full. I did use some yesterday as well, and it still looks really full. Next to it over here, I have my kale monsters. I mean, they're just crazy. I'll just use them for trap plants. I've got my herbs doing really well in here. The thyme is just looking a little spindly, but the sage is doing very well. I'm very happy with that. And then I have been harvesting pretty much every day a couple strawberries here and there. I do have a pretty big roly-poly problem in this bed, so the strawberries do get eaten sometimes, but I get enough. My husband enjoys them in his yogurt every morning, so it's fine. It is what it is. The strawberries I feel like aren't the happiest in this bed, but I'm not sure what I could do differently with them, so that's it with them for now, I guess. I did just put this bed together though. I took out all of the broccoli and I have tomatillos started, so I put 5 in. These cages did really well last year that my husband and I built. Just keeps them contained because tomatillos will go crazy if you let them. So this will just keep them upright. They will flop over if you don't at least give them a stake. And this is just a little bit better than a tomato cage because it's just got more layers to it, more things to keep it upright. Nutmeg is out here chasing crickets like a good boy. Yeah, you're the best boy, I know. Then I have my tomato bed starting. So my sun gold already has a tomato on it, which is crazy. This is April, but there's a little tomato. I also have this apricot zebra from Baker Creek Seeds, and then I have to put this in the ground soon. This is Blush Tiger from Baker Creek Seeds. And then I've got more. I'm gonna fill in this one as well as the next bed. Next to it over here, the carrots are still, they're still being carrots. I feel like I am starting to poke holes in this bed. I don't know. I do have a couple corn that popped up in here. I do need to put more in, but I have one there and I have one here. So I have a little bit of something, and then I have the celery, which I feel like the shade is actually doing well for it because I don't think it likes things to be too hot. So I've got the celery in there as well. Garlic is the same. I feel like every month it just looks like this, you know. I don't know if it's gonna escape for me at this point. I feel like by now it should have, and it's starting to look like it's almost ready to harvest. So that's kind of it for the garlic. Next to the garlic, I'm starting to do things with this bed. Unfortunately, roly-polies ate my zucchini there, but I do have two here that are doing well. I'm gonna cover this up soon so that the squash vine borers won't get to it. They usually don't bother them when they're that small though. And then my rosemary is of course killing it. This is the best rosemary plant I have ever grown. And I've tried propagating it a couple times in water and it hasn't done well. So if anybody has ideas of what to do to propagate rosemary, I'm all ears because I want to take a piece of this with me when we move. It's just such a good plant. But next to it over here, I am slowly getting rid of the collard greens. You would have seen on the one video seed saving that I got rid of a bunch of them. I have two left just because there are a few flowers. I don't need any more seeds, but I just want to let the bees enjoy it, you know? And I have some garlic in here. These peas are almost done. These are more cold hardy peas. They're not as heat tolerant. My husband ate almost all of them yesterday, but there's one. And then I am, of course, starting the watermelons. So there's one there. There's a couple in here. Yeah, there's a couple little watermelons. So that's what's gonna fill up this bed in the near future. This one too, I have a row of corn. I'm gonna put more corn in here, don't worry. I did just sprout a few right here. These only sprouted a couple days ago. The komatsuna is gonna go soon. I just need a place for the seeds. My last fennel is also going to go. And then I have my cucumbers. I've also been having trouble with roly-polies eating these. So I have sprouted quite a few, but these are the oldest ones. They've actually survived from the beginning. Probably a month or two ago, I planted them. And then these I planted just a couple weeks ago. So they're little babies. But moving on, these are my shelling peas. I did harvest ones for actual shelling peas because these aren't quite thick enough right now. These are just starting to thicken up. This one's getting close. This one's getting pretty close. That would almost be ready to eat, but you want a bunch of peas that look this thick in there basically. So the shelling peas are doing really well right now. Lots of production on them. I did eat a kohlrabi, looking forward to eating more. I also have the soybeans or edamame. They are going to bloom soon. And then these are the dragon tongue bush bean. They are starting to flower and produce little beans. They're not very colorful yet, but I'm hoping as they mature, they'll turn colorful. The flowers are cute. They're little purple flowers, so that is already some nice color contrast. This one's starting get bigger. Oh, you can see on the end little purple flecks. So hopefully those get nice and colorful soon. This whole row is doing really well. And then I have more soybeans on this side. This bed I am mostly prepping to put into determinate tomatoes. I have ripped up almost all the radishes. The parsnips are almost ready to go. Scallions, I guess I could start harvesting. The beets are ready. They're going crazy. Like, they're way too big right now. I just don't know what I'm gonna do with all of these beets. I didn't really think about it when I planted them, especially since my husband doesn't like beets. We have been eating the greens a lot because they're really good. Now they're starting to get eaten by some caterpillars, but still need to figure out what I'm doing with the beets. And then of course, my favorite, the sugar magnolia purple snap pea. These are just a wonderful pea to grow. I did harvest a lot of these for dinner last night, but oh, they are so much fun, so much color. They are so much later though than these shelling peas and these snap peas. So just something to keep in mind. I told my husband, do not let me start these in the fall next year because they are not cold hardy at all. They are more heat tolerant and they do kind of get a later start, but they grow really tall. I'll just back up here so you can see it, but They're just so, I love things that are colorful. Colorful food is the best, colorful flowers. I just love any sort of pop of color in the garden. So this one has been a ton of fun to grow. Finally, I have my slightly messy seedling table area. I also have my little pollinator pot that I put here. The African blue basil survived the winter. I did bring it inside whenever it would freeze, but it came back and it is flowering so beautifully. It smells so good. I also have milkweed that came back and parsley, so that is just doing really well overall. And then I have my seedlings mostly doing well at this point. I have some leeks that are ready to go in the ground. I just need it to cool down this evening. And then my tomato seedlings are doing great now. This is a determinate tomato from Botanical Interests. So I'm excited to see what that'll look like in a spring and summer season here, since the ones I grew last year were in the fall. I have this one from Baker Creek Seeds I did buy, but it's called the White Currant tomato. And I am looking forward to that because they're supposed to be very tiny but also very productive. I have lots of cherry tomatoes growing over here. Some things that just aren't sprouting for whatever reason, but mostly doing really well. This one my mom sent me, it's called Orange Accordion. It is supposed to be a really good slicing tomato, and this one has been the healthiest tomato seedling that I've had. Both of these have been doing so well, and they're almost at the point where I would feel comfortable putting them in the ground. So I'm gonna start preparing them for that soon. And then of course, my dragon fruit cuttings are doing so well. I'm thinking about upgrading their pot this year, maybe getting them better situated, but they are rooted, they are growing, every single one of them. This one's just doing the best right here, and I have no idea what variety they are. I just know that they are different ones, and they're just doing really well. So there's that. The sun came out and it is getting quite hot out here, and it's been very humid the past few days. So I think we're gonna call it outside for the day. But I hope you enjoyed this garden tour. I feel like there is a lot going on in the garden, but I also feel so behind right now because I don't have as many peppers in the ground or tomatoes as I would like to at this point. I feel very good that the tomatillos are in early. I feel good about some of the cucumbers and the zucchini that are coming up. I just really need to get more on top of those peppers and tomatoes. So I'm hoping by the next garden tour that'll all be done, because it should be done at that point. Otherwise it's kind of too late. I'll have to wait for more fall plantings. But anyway, if you like this video, make sure to give Nutmeg and I here a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.